Hey guys, I wanted to do a quick comparison video between the Arrow Dollar Tree foam board and the Stryker, which is an all-time favorite and a highly sought-after plane. Apparently, I was unaware of when I got it, but when I brought it out to the field, all the guys were like, "Hey, where'd you get that?" So this plane I flew for the first time today, and I understand why a lot of people like it. It's very streamlined, very sexy plane, very fast. So is the Arrow. The Arrow is all Dollar Tree foam board is I think like $2 to make the frame, just for the foam board and such. But to make the actual aircraft, you got to buy electronics. The electronics are fairly cheap. This one's a lot more expensive to find the electronics for, and you're not going to be able to find this aircraft anymore. You're going to have to order this one. They don't make this anymore. Um, it's got a lot of damage on it. The nose is mostly epoxy and stuff, but it still flies amazing, very fast. And the thing with these flying wings is that their speed envelope is you can go very slow with them to very fast. Something I noticed that's a little different between the two of them. With this one, I fly at about a little less than quarter throttle because it's just such a good flyer. It tracks straight as an arrow. I got it all trimmed in. This one I have it all trimmed in too. When I get into a nosedive with this one, or any kind of dive, this one tends to gain speed a lot faster than this one. And I think that's mainly because this one has a much bigger battery, and it's just a little bit more aerodynamic than the Arrow. However, my Arrow has ironed wings, so the wingtip's actually very sharp. And I've flown arrows without this wingtip, and the speed envelope is much, much, much better on mine. I think that's just mainly because when you do get into those kind of high alpha states, when you're going very slow, this really creates a separation of airflow between the top and the bottom. The air isn't questioning whether it should go up or down. It is going up or down. So, the trim on this does need to be quite a bit more up than with this. I had this one trimmed at 11 degrees up like you're supposed to, but once I flew it the first time, I noticed that this one really needs to be straight. You need to keep the plane's already designed to fly straight without trim. So, same prop. This one's got a much bigger power system though than this one. I would say they have the same speed envelope. If you really wanted to, you could push an Arrow probably to about 120-ish miles per hour. I haven't flown this over 120. I was pushing 80 today. I know it can go up to 160 because this is an aftermarket system in here. And flying at those speeds is kind of scary, especially because today was its maiden, or at least my maiden of it. So I just wanted to do a quick kind of versus pros and cons of each one. Pros of the Arrow, it's Dollar Tree foam board. You don't really have to be afraid of crashing it because if you do, you can just build another one really cheaply. And it's a really good flyer. You can modify it however you want while you're building it. So I really like it for that aspect. Pros of this one, it looks amazing. I mean, the Arrow does look very nice, but this one has a very nice tiger paint job on it. Flies super good. If you walk down to the airfield with it, you're going to instantly recognize this plane is very well known, very good flyer, very loud, even when its prop is balanced. I did have a little bit of nose separation, but this nose is, I'm pretty sure, actually 100% epoxy, so that's all A-okay with me. And it just looks nice. Everything's dialed in. There's never been any replacement parts except for the internal power system, which they got a new power system. It's an aftermarket. They wanted more speed. So this one, power pods in this one, so you can swap that out, throw in less power, throw in more power, throw in however much power you want. Battery space is not very limited, but considerably limited. It's a little tight in there, especially if you add nose weight, which I had to. Your ESC can be pushed back into this section. I just have it out because I'm running a little low of an ESC for the motor, but up in here, you don't have a lot of space in there. I run a 3-cell 800 and a 2-cell 800. The 3-cell 800 makes it fly a lot faster, which makes up for, because the 3-cell I can't shove as far forward. But so the balance point is a little bit below the center and back of the center of gravity. But I think the extra weight and just the speed that it delivers makes up for that. This one's a giant, huge battery. It's like a 3-cell 2200 30C gigantic battery. I actually almost puffed it. The flight times are very short with this. You get like 3-4 minute flight times. To be honest, I didn't time my flight, so it may have been 5 or 6 minutes. But with this, depending on how you fly, you can fly this very slow as you can with this. But with this, you can see I've marked here how many successful flights I've had without crashing. I've never crashed this plane, and that's the first Dollar Tree foam board plane ever that I've ever had not to crash, just because I was able to fly it and wrap my head around how it flies so quickly and so well. I really enjoy it with the 2205 on it. It's a little tail heavy when you put that motor in, so you really got to cram it in there, but once you do get that in, plenty of power, plenty of speed. I don't actually know what kind of motor this has on it or what the specs are, but I know it's really, really, really overpowered, and it has a power to weight ratio that's over 1, so that's a positive. And it's just so streamlined. It's like you bring it to the side here. I like how that just is so streamlined. You open it up. You don't really have any room for anything really in here. I mean, your batteries do tuck away nice, or your battery wires. You shove your battery in here, and then you just put your wires on top like that, and it rests perfectly fine. And then you get the cooling vent, which works very well. And there isn't really any CG problems. I actually, honestly, when I flew this, I didn't even check the CG. Probably should have done that. That's my bad. But it ended up flying great because there really isn't any room for error with putting your motor in there. It's made for a very specifically sized motor in a very specific place. So that's exactly how it goes. Snaps right on down. You're good to fly. But yeah. Honestly, if you guys can get your hands on either of these planes, probably more realistic that one. They're both great flyers. This is kind of an unfair comparison because these planes are almost completely unrelated. But I just want to kind of compare them. The pros of a really nice, flying RC plane that is really expensive and this is like an RC plane. This is something that you go to a hobby store and buy and request. However, this is something you can do DIY yourself. And honestly, if I had to choose between one, I couldn't, because I've flown them both and I love them both for equal amounts. So yeah, whichever one. If money is a problem, go with the Aero, because the Aero's cheap. You can pretty much throw any power system in there. But if money is no object and you want something that's a classic that you're gonna love to fly, try and find yourself one of these or one of the new ones. I hear the new ones are also pretty nice too. I've heard they're not as good as this, but I've heard they're very, very, very good. So yeah, I just wanted to do kind of a versus on the two of these and the pros and cons of buying each or building each. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up, this video. And if you guys have any questions or comments, post them below.